Hi all, how you doing? My name is Krishna. In this video, I'm going to do a tutorial on how to create custom polygon shapes and points in Tableau. As you can see over here, it's a map of Sydney, a beautiful city in Australia. Over here, we've got a custom polygon shape for the Royal Botanic Gardens. We have a polygon shape for the Domain. And of course, there's Hyde Park as well. And the pins you're seeing are the different landmark points. So here we've got Martin Place train station, State Library of New South Wales, Circular Quay train station, and etc. The difference, of course, between the points and polygons is that the polygons are made up of multiple vertices, each with their own unique longitude and latitude pair, whereas the points themselves is only just one vertex, which is just a single longitude and latitude pair. Having the ability to be able to create points and custom polygon shapes in Tableau is a really good skill to have. For example, let's say if you want to map out all of the wineries in your state and also all of the nearby bottle shops, well, you'll be able to map the bottle shops as these individual points, and you will also be able to map the wineries as the custom polygon shapes. So let's take a look at the data that's used to make all this happen. All right, so this is the data. We have 6 columns: shape ID, shape type, shape label, point ID, longitude, and latitude. Shape ID refers to the ID of a specific type of shape that we've got, which is going to be either a polygon or a point. You can see that it starts from 0, and in this data set, it goes until 19. So this means that we have 20 of polygon and points on the map. So if we just go all the way up, we've got shape label next, and it's basically giving a name to a specific polygon or a point. So here we've got Royal Botanic Gardens, but we also have Hyde Park, Wynyard Station, and etc. And here we've got point ID. Now, I mentioned earlier that for a shape type of point, you're just going to have a single vertex, so point ID is going to be 0. And for a custom polygon, you're going to have multiple vertices, so there'll be multiple point IDs. A point ID starts from 0 and it continues until however many vertices there are to complete the polygon loop, the closed loop. So in this case, we've got 57 points, so that's 57 points that is used to make up the Royal Botanic Gardens custom polygon shape. And you can see that for the other polygon we've got, which is the Domain, it starts from 0 and it ends at 11. And then for the following polygon, it starts from 0 and it ends at 28, and etc. Now on this side, we've got the longitude and latitude coordinates. All right. So now that we've looked through the data, let's now look into building this out for ourselves. Okay, so we've got Tableau open now. Let's drag shapes.csv in here. And the first step that we need to do is to make sure that once the data has loaded, if Tableau has interpreted the fields, data types correctly or not. So over here, this is a pretty simple data set. We can see that longitude and latitude has been interpreted correctly as geographic data types, point ID as a numeric measure, shape labels as a string, shape type as a string, which is good, and shape ID has been put as a measure. So we don't want to do any sort of aggregation on shape ID, so we're going to make this into a string, and we're good to go. So click on sheet 1 to continue. Now the first step towards creating a custom geographic polygon in Tableau is to make sure that we drag the longitude and latitude coordinates into the columns and rows shelf respectively. So longitude goes to columns, latitude goes to rows, and now we have a single point on the map. Point to note for people who are interested in taking the Tableau Desktop Specialist exam, they may ask you for the longitude and latitude, which shelves would they go under to properly plot points on a map, right? And it is always going to be longitude goes to columns and latitude goes to rows. Now, we have lots of points in our data set, but we're only seeing one point on the map. Why is that? Quite simple. Longitude and latitude are measure field types, right? And the default level of aggregation that Tableau has applied is average for both of them. So here we're getting average of longitude and average of latitude. So we have a single point, which is what's plotted on this map. So what we need to do is we need to disaggregate the measures so we can see all of the data points on the map. So go to analysis and click on aggregate measures to disaggregate the measures, okay? And there you go. Now this looks nice, but we can spruce things up a bit. First things first, what I want to do is just update the sheet name. So let's call it My Map of Sydney. We'll bold it, put in a nice emoji, make this red. Yeah, that looks good. Now, the other thing I want to change is the map. The map looks kind of bland, so I think we can do one better. Okay. So yeah, so that is okay. It's more green, so I can tell where the grass is, the parks. We've got various parks all over Sydney, because it's a beautiful city, you see. And we can also see the ocean waterway much more clearer. But I actually want to go one step further. I want to see the road names and the landmarks on the map as well, so we know where it is with respect to our polygons and points to be on the map. So again, go back to map, go to background maps, and then choose streets. That looks much better now. So the next step to plot our custom polygons on the Tableau map is to go to the marks card and then change the mark type to polygon. So now Tableau has attempted to come up with the polygon based on the latitude and longitude values that we have supplied it. Of course, it didn't do a very good job. It did a pretty bad job. Now, the reason why is because based on the data that's already in the view, which is latitude and longitude coordinates, it tried to draw the polygons. However, it's obviously getting the order wrong on where it draws the lines. So what we need to do is we need to drag point ID and we'll drag it to path. And that's actually improved, right? So we've got more normal resemblance of how the custom polygon should appear on the map, but it's still looking like a mess. And it's a good time for me to just explain what exactly happened right now. So if I just go back to the data again, so I'll open up Excel. So here we can see different types of polygons. So we've got Royal Botanic Gardens, we've got Hyde Park, Anzac Memorial, First Fleet Park, Observatory Hill Park, and even down over here, we've got 8 individual points corresponding to 8 different landmarks, right? Now, they all have one thing in common based on what I've just talked about, and that is column D, which is the point IDs. So it doesn't matter which polygon it is, whether it's Royal Botanic Gardens, Hyde Park, whatever, point ID, it always starts from 0 and it ends at some number. So in the case of Royal Botanic Gardens, it's 56. So that means that there are 57 vertices that makes up the Royal Botanic Gardens custom polygon. In the case of, say, the domain Phillip Precinct, the vertex starts from 0 and it ends at 11, which means we have 12 vertices that Tableau draws lines between to create this custom polygon. And of course, if we look at the individual points, which is these ones here, we can see that since it's just a single point, there's nothing for Tableau to actually draw. So point ID is going to be 0 for all of them. Now, another common thing actually is the fact that they all start from 0. So they all have different endings, but they all have the same beginning. They all start from point ID equals 0. And this is where the issue is for this map. Because different polygon types start from 0, Tableau kind of gets confused with which order it should start drawing the lines in. It initially starts from 0, and then after a while, oh, it reaches 0 again. So perhaps, it'll try to connect back to, I guess, like one of the starting earlier points. So to overcome this, what we need to do is we need to drag shape label into color. So now we can separate out those point IDs into the various labeled groups, okay? So in this case, now we've got a properly drawn custom polygon of Royal Botanic Gardens, Hyde Park, and Zach Memorial, Observatory Hill Park, and etc. Now this looks great, but there's two things I want to change. One is the color of the polygons, and number two, I want to change, well, actually I want to make this tooltip look a lot better. So let's do that first because that's straightforward. So click on tooltip, we'll remove point ID. I'll remove this shape label text here, and we'll make this shape label placeholder font size 12, make it red, and I'm just going to uncheck include command buttons. Now this is not going to affect us for this example, but what unchecking include command buttons does is it prevents a user from accidentally removing data points on a visualization or a report when they click on it. So it's always good to uncheck this. So I'm going to click on OK, and now we can see that our tooltip is much, much better now. So let's update the colors. So let's go to color, click on edit color, and over here we can see a categorical color palette, and we've got various colors for each of our data items. So let's click on select color palette and let's see if we get something appropriate. So all of this looks to be categorical color palettes, and they all have multiple colors. So if I were to say apply lightning light, and I believe this categorical color palette actually comes from Salesforce Sales Cloud themes. I recognize it. I used to do Salesforce previously. And yeah, look, the color scheme is great, but we do want the same color for all of our custom polygons. So this is not going to work. What will work is we need to create our own custom categorical color palette, which only has a single color. Now, you might be thinking, well, hang on, we do have blue, orange, green, red here. So how about one of these? Well, no, because then if we choose red, we still have a range of different shades of red, so it's not going to work. So the only option here is to create our own custom categorical color palette. I've actually done this previously, which is why you can see green gardens, vibrant red, bright blue, and burnt sienna. So I'm going to choose bright blue and click on assign palette, yes, and click on OK. And now all of our polygons are blue. And what I'll do at this point is I'm going to make the opacity to 50% and add a black border. And this is actually looking a lot better. Now I want to digress for a bit and just quickly walk through how you can add your own custom categorical color palette. So what you would need to do is, I'm just going to shrink Tableau for a bit. There's a folder called Documents if you're on a Mac, and a folder called My Documents if you are on Windows. In this folder, there'll be another folder called My Tableau Repository. In this folder, there will be settings which are related to your Tableau workbooks. So for example, the data sources folder will contain a list of all your saved data sources. Shapes will contain a list of all the different Tableau custom shapes that Tableau has. And here is what we need to look at. We've got the preferences.tps file. So if we were to open this in a text file, we can see that we have preferences over here, and we've got the color palettes which you've seen previously. So green gardens, vibrant red, bright blue, and burnt sienna, etc. Wherever it says type equals regular, it's referring to a categorical color palette. By default, you're not going to see this. You're actually going to see just this, right, as default, which is why you need to customize this if you want a specific type of color palette. So I'm going to exit out of this, and I just want to show you this Tableau page on creating custom color palettes. I will link to this in the description below. So if we just scroll down, it'll tell you a bit about the preferences file, which I've already talked about. And it tells you how to edit your preferences file, which I've already covered. So now if you go to create custom color palettes, we have different sections over here. Instructions on how to create custom categorical, sequential, and diverging color palettes. So if we go to categorical, for example, we can see that the template that we need to add within the preference tags in the preference.tps file is this one here for a categorical color palette. The type is regular for categorical. We've got the name of the color palette, and these are the categorical colors that we're going to add. In our case, we just have one because we don't need any more than that. Now, if I just go back up and click on this. So if you're interested in creating a sequential color palette like this, or a continuous color, it's basically the same thing. So type becomes ordered sequential, and then here you put your range of colors to determine that gradient, right? If we scroll back down here, here's instructions on how to create a diverging color palette, which is you have one extreme, it becomes white at some point, or a middle ground gray, and then it goes to another extreme. And to do that, here's the template. So again, type equals ordered diverging, and then we've got our two colors there to create the diverging color palette. But that's it for that. So let's go back to this. Now, you would have noticed that even though we've got the polygons over here, we don't have our points. So we're going to add that right now. What we're going to do is, if you're on a Mac, click on Command. If you're on Windows, click on Control, and then click on the latitude and just drag it to copy it across and create a second copy. So now we have two maps. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the second latitude pill, which corresponds to the second map on the bottom. We're not interested in these polygons to appear on the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the mark type from polygon to shape. So let's just zoom in just to see how that looks. So as you can see, we can now finally see our points. So I'm just going to change this. We can see our points. So here we've got Wynyard train station, and we've got the circles here to represent the actual polygons, custom polygon themselves. So what we want to do is we want to drag shape type to shape, right? So there were two shape types, point and polygon. So now all our points are going to be a circle on the map, and anything that's related to the polygon, the custom polygon, is going to appear as a square. Now, what we want to do is we want to hide the squares and we want to keep the points. But instead, we don't want the point to appear as a circle. We want it to appear as a pin, right? Because that's what we're interested in for the final visualization. So what we do now is click on shape, and let's see if there's a default shape palette that we could already use. So let's see. I know none of this is going to be useful for us, but for the sake of a demo, I'm just going to show you how something like this would look like. So if I make a cross for a polygon and a black circle for point, just to show you how it would affect and look on the map, you can see right here, we've got a dark circle and then we've got crosses representing the different polygons. Well, this is not going to work. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to add custom shapes. So again, let's just minimize this and we will go to my Tableau repository again and then go to shapes. We're going to create a folder over here and we're going to call it Geospatial. And it's in this Geospatial folder where we're going to copy across our custom shapes. So I've got two custom shapes here, pin and 1x1.png. Both are transparent shapes, as you can see. If I open up pin, you can see that this is going to represent our different points on the map that only has a single latitude and longitude coordinate pair. And if we open up 1x1.png, this is just a 1x1 transparent PNG file, so 1x1 pixels transparent PNG file, and as you can see it does, and it has absolutely nothing that we can see, and that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. So now let's go back to Tableau. I'm just going to maximize this again. Let's click on shape, and if we click on the drop down, we're not going to see the geospatial custom shapes that we just added. So what we need to do is click on reload shapes, and now click on the drop down again and we can see geospatial. So now let's assign, for our point, we're going to assign this pin. And for the polygon, because we don't want to see the polygon icons, we're going to assign the transparent shape. And then let's just apply and click on OK. So now we can see a pin representing this Wynyard train station landmark point. And we're not seeing any of the other points that we had previously, right? Because remember, we've made it transparent now. So what we're going to do at this point is we're going to click on the second latitude pillar again, and we're going to increase the opacity to 100, and we will increase the size. So let's say up to here. So yes, that's looking pretty good, but we don't have the red, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to remove shape label from here. And now we've got our actual pin color over here, which is great. So yeah, so that looks to be good. Now what we need to do is, if we just hover over an item, we can see that it's not showing us anything besides latitude or longitude of that point. So the next step, what we need to do is we need to go to shape label, and then we'll just drag it into tooltip over here. And we'll go to tooltip, and what we'll do is we'll insert shape label. And let's just see what comes up. Anzac Memorial. Okay, good. So let's just make this 12, make this bold, make this red, so it matches with the other tooltips. And now finally we're getting the same style of tooltips as above. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a dual axis chart to bring these two maps together. So you can right click or just click on the drop down arrow on the second pill and click on dual axis. And yeah, so now we've got our individual points on the map. So Wynyard train station, Circular Quay, Chinese Garden of Friendship, and we also have our custom polygon shapes on the map as well. So Hyde Park, Anzac Memorial, Hyde Park, the Domain, Royal Botanic Gardens, and etc. So we can just tidy this up a little bit. I'm just going to maximize this. I can just show you. So yeah, so that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy it and you found it useful, please do like and subscribe and ring that notification bell. And I will see you in the next video. Until then, take care and have a great day. All right, see ya.